Africa, the impact of corruption and illicit financial flows is felt deeply. Every year, an estimated $50 billion is lost through illicit financial flows (IFFs), funds that would transform healthcare, education and infrastructure.
The illicit financial flow is a continental problem. I don't think there is a country on the African continent that is not affected by the illicit financial flows. In a year, Africa is losing close to 60 up to 80 billion US dollars to illicit financial flows.
Economic crime basically are those crimes that injure our economy, where people who are either entrusted with public assets or people who trade with government basically steal money, which adversely will affect the way our economy works. And the link is this, that, for example, if there is a public officer who is responsible for maintenance of certain infrastructure, if, for example, he colludes with the companies that are supposed to be contracted to repair those roads or even to build the roads, and interfere with the procurement process so that both of them gain or one of them gain.
The scale of illicit financial flows is staggering. Over the last 50 years, Africa has lost $1 trillion to IFFs. Money that could have built schools, hospitals and roads has been siphoned off.
I gave a scenario, the research I did between 2019 and 2020, what Nigeria alone lost to contract and procurement fraud, close to about 3 trillion. And I gave them the analysis of what that money could have done for our country. The number of hospitals that would have been built, the number of schools that would have been built and upgraded, the number of road infrastructure that have been put in place, the number of other welfare services that have been provided for the citizens.
What we do also request the media to do is to educate the public as they try to expose the rot, but let them also educate. Break it down for the citizen to understand and appreciate that if an ambulance was meant to be in this health facility, the fact that this honorable so-and-so did not deliver that ambulance in that facility, it means that tomorrow when somebody is sick, you're going to die from there because you cannot be transported to the next hospital because that ambulance is not there.
But Africa is fighting back. In 2018, the African Union adopted the Common African Position on Asset Recovery, or CAPA. This strategic framework is a unified stance by African nations to combat corruption, recover stolen assets and reinvest them in Africa's development.
Vous savez, en 2015, il y a eu le rapport du panel de haut niveau, rapport Thabo-Mbeki, qui avait donc décelé que l'Afrique perd environ 50 milliards de dollars par an du fait des flux financiers illicites. En 2017, la conférence des chefs d'État de l'Union africaine donc, a adopté un thème pour combattre la corruption pour un développement durable de l'Afrique.
Well, it's important for us to work as African Union because you realize that partnership and strategic alliances helps us to come up as a stronger team. So when you see us coming up with a common position on asset recovery as Africa, I think then we are able to work together in the recovery of assets which are all over the place. And remember how illicit these flows move around. Sometimes it is difficult to trace, but if we can cooperate and network among each other, we are able to come up with strategies and mechanisms on how to quickly identify these assets and cause them to be returned back to the rightful countries for the rightful use in order to enhance development and growth in those countries.
CAPA is crucial for Africa. It represents hope for reclaiming lost wealth and directing it back into vital areas like infrastructure, healthcare, fighting climate change, cultural rejuvenation and education. At the heart of CAPA are 4 pillars: detection and identification of assets. This pillar focuses on tracing and identifying stolen African assets. Using cutting-edge technology and robust legal frameworks, it seeks to uncover what has been taken and where it is hidden.
The assets are leaving the continent through fraudulent activities. So for example, if it is a foreign company that has been contracted to do certain work in Kenya, they could cheat in form of the taxes that they pay, in form of the salaries and the allowances they pay to their employees, especially the top management, or they could do substandard work, bribe the public officials, and in that process they save some money, which probably will end up, in their country.
Recovery and return of assets. CAPA streamlines the processes of recovering and repatriating assets from foreign jurisdictions, ensuring that justice crosses borders.
Findings and remedial action contained in it were invalid.
What would happen is that after that suspect has been convicted and they have served their sentence, they will be released and then they will come and enjoy the benefits that they had acquired from that process of crime. So asset recovery became a very important mechanism of combating crime, in that it deprives that suspect, that criminal, that benefit they have acquired as a result of the crime that they have committed.
Management of recovered assets. Recovered assets must be managed transparently and used for the common good. CAPA ensures these resources are reinvested into projects that benefit all Africans. Cooperation and partnerships. Successful asset recovery requires collaboration. CAPA emphasizes partnerships with Africa and with global allies working together for a just cause.
C'est généralement on dit que ceux qui font ce genre de pratique, ils s'unissent pour le faire. Nous, pour les combattre, on doit également s'unir pour le faire. Comment le faire? Développer des actions concertées, développer des stratégies, amener la communauté internationale à accepter, à avoir une prise de conscience des méfaits de la corruption et des flux financiers illicites. Pour cela, il faut donc des échanges, des rencontres, des discussions, aussi bien entre États africains qu'entre États africains et au niveau international.
The African Union Advisory Board Against Corruption plays a pivotal role in this journey. As the host of CAPA, it ensures visibility, advocacy, and technical support across the continent.
It is only when African countries are speaking with one voice and moving in one direction. We need to have at least a consortium of experts that can be used by African countries when they identify assets that have been looted and are kept in foreign countries. A common position can really help African countries to successfully recover this, because it is a challenge.
We're trying to put in more effort. We're trying to build the capacity of the practitioners, the people who are doing the actual work in tracing and recovery. We're trying to sensitize people. We're trying to bring on board the public, members of the public, because we realize that they have a lot of information about who is doing what. Through the Asset Recovery Interagency Network, for example, East Africa, we have been able to trace and recover assets to a tune of about $1.2 million over about 5 years. But somebody would most likely say probably that's just a drop in the ocean because of what is going around.
Awareness and participation are key. CAPA raises public awareness through media engagement, social campaigns, and annual dialogues, ensuring that the fight against corruption is everyone's responsibility.
Looking at Uganda as a country, for us we did the cost of corruption report and survey, and we realized that as a country we lose close to 10 trillion annually to corruption. So if Uganda alone is losing 10 trillion, then I believe Kenya, Tanzania, and other countries in the continent are losing a hefty amount of money.
The first thing for us to do is to ensure that we adopt preventive measures, joining hands with the government as citizens. So when you see some of these elements of corruption around, you speak out so that we challenge our government, we challenge the leaders as to good governance.
CAPA collaborates with international partners such as the United Nations, GIZ, the German Development Agency, through its global program on illicit financial flows, and the World Bank. These partnerships provide global support to overcome challenges and advance asset recovery efforts.
One of the most important things in asset recovery is cooperation and collaboration. In a country, you'll find that, for example, you have an anti-corruption agency, you have an asset recovery agency, you have an FIU, which is the Financial Intelligence Authority, you have, say, the bankers. They need to work together. If you can work together at a country level, and then you work together at a regional level, and then you work together at a continent level, you'll be able to solve some of these problems.
Africa's future is bright. By 2050, Africa will have the largest youth population globally with a median age of 25 years. COPPER is more than just a policy. It's a vision for a continent where stolen assets are recovered and reinvested into the prosperity of its people. Together, we can ensure that Africa's wealth serves Africa's future.